Justice for 9-year-old Safa is our top focus story on the broadcast. We will show you images of this 9-year-old child. She is currently in hospital. These images, we urge viewer discretion. This young child was shot at and injured when terrorists targeted her father, Constable Saifullah Qadri, in the Soura area of Srinagar in Kashmir. On India Today, we show you the real face of Pakistan-sponsored radical Islamist terror and its impact in Jammu and Kashmir. A terrorist outfit, TRF. Now, TRF is a front for Pakistan state-sponsored Lashkar-e-Taiba. TRF has claimed responsibility for this terror strike. The silence of the otherwise extremely vocal Kashmir experts is also deafening in this case. Young Safa's father, Constable Saifullah, he just stepped out of the house in Soura when terrorists, apparently armed with pistols, they were lying in wait. As soon as he came out of the house, they shot him at very close range. Little Safa, now she's learned to have run out of the house to save her father, hearing the gunshots. And these radical Islamists, they are believed to have shot at her. She was injured in the firing. They left her bleeding on the road to die. This is the Frankenstein's monster of radical Islamist jihad that's killing people in the valley. The brave Jammu and Kashmir Police, they're actually the backbone of India's war on Pakistan's state-sponsored terror. The two images on your television screen, Constable Saifullah Qadri, he was on leave, he was at home. He just stepped out of this house and they shot him. And Safa, a 9-year-old child, she ran out of the house to save her father. She was unarmed. She ran out of the house screaming to save him, and terrorists shot at her also.
जो बर्बर हत्या करने में जो टेररिस्ट इन्वॉल्व है उसको हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई बहुत जल्दी कर लेंगे और न्यूट्रलाइज करेंगे। सबसे बड़ी बात है कि आज टेररिस्ट ने मानवता के सारे हद को पार कर दिया। उस छोटी सी बच्ची जो 9 साल की थी उसको नहीं छोड़ा, उसको भी फायर किया, वो भी जख्मी हो बेचारी, वो भी हॉस्पिटल में है, स्टेबल है, ठीक है। और मैं अपने पुलिस के सारे जवानों से को आश्वासन देता हूँ, जो भी टेररिस्ट इन्वॉल्व है उसको बहुत जल्दी न्यूट्रलाइज कर देंगे।
Neutralizing terrorists is one part of the story. That's like pruning leaves and branches of the terror tree with roots in Pakistan. And clearly, decisive action against Pakistan's state-sponsored terror would be required. But spare a moment for that little Safa Qadri, a 9-year-old Kashmiri child. Terrorists shot her. The terrorists who claim that they're fighting a jihad, is this the jihad that Pakistan state-sponsored terror fights in Jammu and Kashmir? Or is this blatant radical Islamist terror that stands exposed yet again? I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Pooja Shali, who joins us for more on this big story. Pooja, what more can you tell us? You've been speaking to people on ground. You've spoken to the Jammu and Kashmir Police. What more do we know? Especially, how is little Safa right now?
An absolutely horrific tragedy has taken place in Kashmir today, Gaurav. Now, what I can tell you is this was the Ganai Mohalla in Soura, in Srinagar. It is a residential locality. Now, this police personnel, selection grade constable Saifullah Qadri, was on leave. He was just spending time with his family. He was not on duty. He walks out of his house, and that is when the terrorists, who were clearly aware of his movement, started to indiscriminately fire. He received critical bullet wounds. While this was happening, this 9-year-old daughter, watching the shots fired, runs to her father in an attempt to try and save him. What senior officers have told me of Jammu and Kashmir Police is that this little child tried to cling on to her father as he was battling for his life, and then the terrorists did not spare her either. According to our top sources in the Jammu and Kashmir Police, the terrorists fired at the girl also. The 9-year-old girl who was clinging onto her father was also fired at. She has suffered blood loss, but she's currently being treated at the hospital, is stable. Imagine the trauma that this child has seen right now. Now, of course, senior officers say they will ensure that the killers deserve what they get, but this is becoming increasingly a pattern that even police personnel on leave are being targeted, and clearly this is Pakistan-backed terror that is ensuring that it continues to spread terror amid the valley and is targeting Kashmiris repeatedly in or out of uniform. Gaurav.
Stay with me, Pooja. I also want to bring in Ashraf Wani, our Jammu and Kashmir Bureau Chief, joining us on the broadcast. Also with me is Sunil Ji Bhatt from Jammu. Ashraf, you've covered terror for decades. You know the ins and outs of phases of India's war against Pakistan state-sponsored terror. Ashraf, explain to us little Safa's condition right now and the targeting of Saifullah Qadri. Why was Saifullah Qadri targeted, Ashraf?
First of all, about the girl, the 9-year-old child, young child, she's not yet aware that what has happened to his father. Basically, this is the information what we are getting, that the girl has not been told that what happened to the father. She is still thinking that probably he's being treated in another ward in the same hospital where she is currently under treatment in the Soura Medical Institute, the prime medical institute here in the Kashmir Valley. And that is the story of Safa. But when she will come to know that what happened to her father when she was in her arms, and that will be a very, very tragic moment for her, being the child even then. But as far as the this police constable Safa Qadri is concerned, he was among the targets what the militants have been doing for so many months, particularly during last many years and mainly during last few months, where specifically some people identified, then being tracked and then being targeting, including some of the minorities, some of the policemen, some of the politicians. And it is an ongoing trend for last many months in the Kashmir Valley, where police is saying that this is a hybrid terrorism, where the terrorists without any history or any past, they just mingle with the population and then carry out these.
You know, that's a very important aspect you raise, Ashraf, and we will talk about hybrid terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir.